So in this video, we're going to learn about what strategies are there and which one should you choose for you that's right for you based on your time, the money, the effort, the energy and the experience that you have to be able to achieve your goals. If you get value from this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe, the like button, share it, do comment as well, just so the channel reaches more people and we can add more value and we can all get rich together. I think that's a good idea. So the first one is buy to let. I did a previous video. If you didn't check that out before, go see that on the YouTube channel to overview of all of the 6 steps of how to get started in property investing. But now we're talking about strategies. It's important that you select the right strategy that works for you based on your time, energy, money, and effort that you're going to put into this. So it's not like another job. Like some people are like, oh, I want to quit my job, and then they create themselves another job. So you've got to have this set up in the right way. So the first one is buy to let. So very kind of entry level, standard way of investing in property. This is where you can go ahead and buy a property. You can leverage the money's banks. You may have the deposit. You may want to buy it in cash. There are things that I have to say around that, especially if you want to maximize your returns. But you go ahead and buy a property and you get it ready to rent out, and someone comes and rents it from you. Sometimes they stay there a year, 2 years, 10 years. They're very long-term tenants sometimes for these buy-to-lets. And then you're going to get that monthly cash flow, and that's pretty basically how it works. Now, a little bit later in the strategies, I'm also going to tell you how to morph that buy-to-let to make it more profitable for you as well and add more value as well, because I'll tell you something, the demand for these products and properties on the market is massive. Second one I want to talk to you about is HMO, houses of multiple occupancy. So this is where you can take like a 3-bedroom house, for example, and many times we've turned it into 5 or 6 units. So mainly these are double ensuite rooms. There are lots of them in the market, thousands, and a lot of people are having challenges with them right now. So why is that? It's because they haven't created them to the standard that people now want. So especially over the recent pandemic and lockdowns and things, people wanted more isolated living. So still living in shared accommodation, but they got their place where if they got a studio, for example, they got like kitchen facilities there, but mainly people want to make sure they've got their own ensuite, toilet, sink and shower in there. So these are commonly for the student market. They're also very useful. We've got loads for the professional market. That's the market I prefer. I know loads of people who have done our training and in our community, they are providing it to the student market, but we just don't really do that. But it is a nice thing, and I know they get lots of monies dropping into their bank account in the student years. So that is very useful. Another one is rent to rent. So we've got loads of people in our community who are super successful at rent to rent. It's where you're going to form a contract with a landlord who's probably fed up, not really wanting to do it, didn't know how to do it, didn't get the right coaching or training in the first place, so they're probably not having a lot of fun with it, where you could come along, give them a guaranteed rent so they can pay their mortgage and have their return on their money, but then it's you're going to make a superior product. That means you can rent it out at a higher price. Now by doing that, now you get to keep the profit. So if it costs you £3, £4, £5, even £10,000 to do a small renovation, it's not even a renovation, it's just upgrade furniture, make it look nice so you can rent it out for hire. And you're paying, let's say, £800 to £1,000 to the landlord, then your total rent is bringing in £3,000. You're going to have some cost to cover the bills, probably if it's roughly about £100 a room, then from there the rest of the profit is yours. So if you did invest 10k, which is quite high in these scenarios, if you're making £1,000 a month after 10 months, everything is profit for you. So if you're going to do it with 0 of your own money, then after a few months you could be making profit. There's deals that are making money and cash flow profit immediately, sometimes after 3 months, sometimes after 6 months. But they're just the things, and by the way, if that is something that you're interested in, reach out to us, because we'll help many people be able to focus on this as a strategy because they just wanted cash flow. They wanted to leave their jobs, they wanted to create cash flow so they could focus on property full time, or even sometimes they want to focus on other things as well. So with rent to rent, there's also another strategy called service accommodation. This is where like you'd find it on Airbnbs, maybe you even stayed in a service accommodation. I mean, I know I had before I ever knew what it was. And this is like people who have got either rooms or little flats, little apartments, sometimes entire houses that you can go and rent for a few days, like on a nightly basis pretty much, but you can stay there for a few days. And it's all service, furniture's in there, cutlery's in there, you just bring your suitcase and you park up. So that's a good strategy. They're higher rents because it's more short term, so on a nightly basis, obviously it works out higher than someone paying you a monthly rent. And rent to rent strategy can also go rent to HMO or rent to service accommodation. So you can imagine if you're paying a fixed rent and you've turned it into service accommodation, you're getting higher rents, then it's more profit for you. There are some things to consider around systemization because obviously the turnaround of tenants and people coming and going is much quicker. So having systems in place to be able to make sure that you're not working your ass off there and tying up all your time is important and pretty straightforward to get set up as well. We've got many people doing that. In fact, one recently that we just worked on and in our community with Real Life Creative Construction, they have just finished, it was 8 units in total. Yeah, it changed halfway through. So there's some apartments and then there's some double ensuite rooms. And that is fetching on a service accommodation basis 296,000 a year. So you can see there's a lot of scope to be able to make some money by adding value to people who want this. And these can be done in areas, which I'm going to touch on in another video, on how, like, once you've got your strategies, how do I make sure I've got the right area to invest in, future-proof, where I'm going to get consistent profits and returns. Yeah, so another strategy, super nice one to do, which is flips. So this is simply just buying and selling. You've got to make a profit in between. So how do I do that? I do that by looking for properties that I can add value to. The flip strategy, really what you want to look for is how can I put the house into the next bracket? What does that mean? Like if I buy a 3-bed, how can I make it a 4 or 5-bed? If I buy a 2-bed, how can I make it a 3 or 4-bed? You should put it into another price bracket, another search, like it's a different search criteria. And that's how you add value to it, and it's very easy. So like we always look to like how can we put it in the next bracket and how can we extend or make the kitchen or the dining experience a lot better. And again, in Deal Finding Secrets, which is a full training specifically on finding deals, getting the offers accepted, which link maybe in the comments here in the description. We'll show you that entire process of how to find out like where are the places where people are going to pay the good money for those deals. The next one, which sometimes people say they want to get into straight away. Sometimes it takes a bit of time, but you definitely got to get the right training, mentoring, and the coaching to go into what we call developments. Yeah, so there's 3 phases for developments, the way I consider and the way we teach it anyway. The first one is, just develop it. You might have bought a house, it's got some land, so you can build another house on the land. Yeah, or you might just be like, there might be a bit of land and you want to put a couple of terrace houses on it. That's the first level of development. Second level of development is building what I would consider like a small little either cul-de-sac or just a few houses, maybe 4, 5, 6 houses. That's another range where you put in roads in, or like you've got to put more services than just from the road to the house. That's the second layer, and then the third layer is going into the big projects. Like some of the things that we're working on right now is like refurbing and totally developing hotels and extending on the side of hotels, this type of developments. It could be like building blocks of flats with apartments or studios and things like that. So that's the development. This also takes me on to the next strategy that we can talk about, which is the commercial to residential. So that is taking commercial buildings and turn them into residential, whether it's flats, 1 to 2 bedroom flats, whether it's turning them into apartments, or whether you're turning big like I'm talking about like factory style units, because back in the day, whenever that is, there was lots of factories that were in residential areas. So, take these factories now that, becoming derelict and not being used anymore, and now turning it into the street, so it actually is more fitting, is a great strategy also. Another strategy that people commonly who want to make cash fast can do is something called sourcing or deal packaging. So this is where you're going to do the brunt of the work, and that's why deal finding secrets is so useful, because you're going to be able to find the deals with the demand, with good attractive numbers that are going to make people a good return, get the offer accepted, and be able to sell that deal onto someone else. Yeah, pretty straightforward. There's a bit of regulation around it, but it's very so simple to set up. I've done it. Many people have done it. We still do it as we provide turnkey services for some people as well. So what this means is essentially you're doing all the stuff, and people want this. Like, people don't want to spend the time finding the deal, getting the offer accepted, making it all work. They just want to see the end product and say, yeah, okay, give it to me and I'll take it on and do the project from here. So that's another good one. Another one which is common out there, which is the BRRR strategy, which stands for buy, refurbish, refinance, then rent. This is what we kind of refer to as like the money in, money out strategy, because what we want to do is we want to buy somewhere, we want to then do a conversion so it's worth more, and now we're refinancing it at this higher amount, so then all of that money that was put in the first place is now taken back out. So if you have that money to put in the first place, or you raise that capital from someone else, like an investor or a joint venture, which we teach how to do. In fact, we do it actually live in the room with people. So you're going to send them home, try and figure it out themselves. That doesn't work. Then they can raise capital that way, and then just keep recycling the money. Once they've done one deal, then they go on to another deal, then they go on to another deal, then they build some credibility, and more people want to lend their money and say, hey, can you get my money working for me as well? And that's how they start doing it. That's how we started doing it. We started with one deal, then 6 very quickly came, so we were doing 7 all at once. I think at the peak of the time where we were doing lots of smaller projects, there was like 14 projects we were running at one time. That caused a bit of chaos. But that's what's useful about this, because I made lots of mistakes and created a lot of chaos, which is now I help people not make those same costly mistakes, costing in money and costly in time as well. If you've got value from this video and you want to know about any more of these strategies, go and subscribe to this YouTube channel, because I'm going to be doing there's videos, and I'm going to be doing videos of all of these individual strategies in a bit more depth. Maybe we can even look at some numbers as well. So do comment, let me know if you do have any questions or anything else more that you want to know. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share, and until next time, do the right thing for the right reason, because that is the only way you're going to discover true potential.